Hello and welcome to Up the Villa podcast. If you're new to our channel, subscribe. We'll have a like target of 150. A lot's happened really. It's been a sort of just over a week now, hasn't it, since Gerrard sort of looked like he was coming in. Really exciting. I think most of the fan base are pretty much on board with it now. Big up to the Villa women today. Obviously, doing one over on the Blues, standard win for Villa. Justin, Josh, and Ryan, we got on today. So just a general chat about all things Villa, really, while we're in this international break. There's been some fans saying that they're not sure whether Gerrard sort of is ready for this job, but and on the other hand, a lot of fans are saying that, we've kept McPhee, we've kept Danks, the backroom staff is absolutely massive. But I just want to pick up on something that I think a lot of Villa fans have listened to, and it's the podcast with Beale about what goes on into training. So in training, they set it up into three areas. So they have player qualities, team qualities, and what if moments. So this, what I'm talking about now, is all about training, basically. I think I've always said that Villa lack an identity, and hopefully when I get to the end of what I'm trying to say, you'll understand that we're pretty much going to have one. So within the player qualities, then they look at and the need to have a style of play. Basically, the team qualities is all about possession, creating and defending, and the what if moments are all about whether we press teams, whether a team plays 3-5-2, whether they play 4 at the back. It's all about what if and what the other team does, which is what they like to work on. They like to set it up into different categories. So the left back does a different training to the right back. And the work with unit coaches, which oversee the development of players. So each coach has a specific role to work in, which is, I think, what we're going to start to see more. So at Villa, so you have a defensive coach, a set piece coach, and it's all about the player's individual journey and how that player gets better. And I think I spoke about it when Gerrard got appointed, that it's all about how an individual can get better and how the team can get better as well. And he breaks it down into coaching lieutenants, which I think is key. So the manager oversees everything. Beale will have a rough plan of how he feels like the session will go, and then he'll delegate into who leads each session. And whenever there's a break in training, they'll be in the ears of the players as well. So they're getting into the players, analysing the players, and then that filters down into a match day on who speaks to who during the games as well, which is really important. And he uses an analogy of water in the grass. So it's all about the communication within the group. And basically, if there was an onlooker to be looking at the specific session and you're asking the question, what's going on in the session? It's all about the style of Villa, and it's all about having an identity for Villa. So each day, each session is all about the identity of Aston Villa. And for me, that's what we've been lacking for a very, very long time. And I just think it's going to be key, isn't it? And I think it's crucial in the way that we move forward, that we start seeing this identity week in, week out. Justin, I know you've had a listen to it as well. What do you make of it all?
It's brilliant, to be fair. I mean, the name seems to be on most people's lips now is Beale. Not, it's almost Gerrard is a secondary thought, really, because the amount of stuff that people are consuming about Beale is phenomenal, and there's a lot of stuff out there. But he's a really interesting character. He went abroad to do some coaching as well to Sao Paulo, came back, started off in academy football, coached kids. Came back, could have taken, managerial roles of his own, but wanted just to go back into the academies. Then he was offered the job with Gerrard at Rangers. But, he said, talking about Gerrard not being ready for it, Gerrard almost sits back and takes an overriding view of it all by what read and heard, and he sort of allows his coaches to go and do their thing. They have meetings in the morning, which I'm presuming most managerial setups do anyway, and then they discuss what they're going to do, and then they go out, they pick individual players to talk to. So they'll walk out with a player, and they'll walk back in with a player, they'll go and have lunch with a player, they'll go and, it's all about building relationships, like you say. An interesting bits I picked up was that they talk about ownership of each individual's careers. So, they'll talk to each person. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? How do you want to develop? How do you want to grow? But the overriding thing is growing the whole structure of the team as well. They want people to get better every day. Like you say, they manage individuals, they manage to develop players. They want players to have a clarity in their role, which I think is so important. So when a player goes out on the pitch, a bit like, I'm not digging Dean Smith out, but we all saw that bit of paper going on the pitch, didn't we, against Southampton, which was just trying to get some kind of information into a player or a set of players and what we're going to do, what can we do. Where Gerrard and Beale talk about having a clarity in the role. So once they go over that line, their coach's work should be done, in my opinion. Everything should be done in the week. So if a player knows exactly what they should be doing on the pitch, that surely should make it easier for them to do whatever they need to do. Communication improvement. They work with a common cause. They want to inspire players. It just sounds really, really good and interesting. They work within relationships of players as well. And when you look at sort of Beale's track record of who he's worked with, he's worked with Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti, Jurgen Klopp, Gus Hiddink. He's got a fantastic track record. So you can see, if anything, Gerrard's been very, very clever and astute to build this team around him. And I said it last week, I'm excited for Gerrard, but I'm excited for what he's bringing. He's picking up his whole coaching team, which he's sort of done. I'm not saying they've done their pre-work at Rangers, because that's doing disregard to Rangers, disrespectful, it's not, but he's picking that whole squad of coaches up and he's bringing them all to Villa, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and I think, when we're talking it, I'm not dissing Dino, by the way, and I'm not like saying whatever he did was completely wrong, but it's like this season, how many times have you walked to Villa Park this season and thought, what Villa's turning up here today? What are we going to do? What are we trying to? How are we playing? And I think the most positive feeling that I've got coming out of this with Gerrard as well is that we're going to see all of that, and we're going to grow as well. So I think obviously early on, it's not going to be plain sailing, is it? It's not going to be. We're not going to hit the ground running straight away, because it's going to take time. It's going to take time for them to adjust, and it's going to take time for the players to adjust. So I'm not saying straight away we're going to go on a massive winning streak, and but I just think it's exciting for me to listen to them talk in that sort of way, and everything you've just said, Justin, I'm just buzzing for it, really. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly the same as you two. When obviously Dino was sacked and Gerrard was linked, instantly, I think my reaction was a bit simplistic, really. I thought, he's Perslow's mate, he's an iconic player, he's a legend of the game. He's got no experience, why are we getting rid of Dino? But the more you dig a bit deeper and look at the bigger picture, you see how well he has done at Rangers. They were a shit show. They was all over the place when he come in. He got the defence sorted, and then during lockdown, they sat down and the thought of a plan on how to make Rangers good again and be competitive in that league. And I don't think they'd beat Celtic for 8 years, and they got a result over them, and it kick-started the whole revival, really. And he changed the culture there, and they got into the last 16 of Europe. So the job he done there is brilliant, and he's left them in such a great place. I watched a podcast about Gerrard. It was called High Performance, and it was with Jake Humphries.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed, absolutely so impressed with Gerrard. He spoke of how important it was to address that Rangers team the first time and set out his stall, everything that you guys have just been saying, what he expects of the players, and that his coaching setup is there to help them grow as players. And he set up a culture of a no excuse culture where they will take care of everything, whatever the player needs, they'll take care. So there's no excuse. So when you go on that pitch, you're fully prepared. And and you're 100% clear in your mind of what you're going out there to do. So it is exciting. It is. I am excited about Gerrard coming in and the whole setup, and Gary McAllister back as well. So yeah, and the only other thing that impressed me the most was implementing how much responsibility they had to the club as well. You know, Rangers was a big institution, and it was getting into their heads like, you know, you're responsible for all these fans, and, you know, you're putting in the performance for these guys. So he made it clear, like, it's been embedded in him, isn't it? Because he's been in Liverpool, that fishbowl of Liverpool. Rangers was the same, and Villa's the same. So I'm very excited about their philosophy and what they're going to bring to our players. And tactically, we all know that he loves a 4-3-3. That's sort of how his tactics have evolved at the minute, with fullbacks bombing forward and a front three that are narrow and can press. And they must have had a look at our team and thought, yeah, you know, they've got the players there for them to implement it now. It's a different type of challenge for Gerrard and McAllister and Beale now, because nine times out of 10, and it was literally 9 times out of 10, or probably bar Celtic, that they'd go into them games and they'd be dominating, they'd have 90% possession, and they'd have to break teams down. Where it's a bit of a different challenge now coming into the Premier League, where it ain't going to be like that, is it, with the Villa? But what gives me a bit of hope and a feeling and a good vibe what we're going to do well is the performances in Europe, where they were the underdogs and they got performances and they punched well above their weight. Last 16 twice in Europe is no mean feat. So yes, like you guys, dead excited about the whole new setup.
Another stat that I like the look of is that this season it's took Rangers out of possession around 8 to 9 seconds to retrieve the ball. Now, I think if you can implement that in the Premier League, it's going to be good. Because, I mean, Ryan, when we was at Southampton, it felt like we was watching Southampton knock that ball around for about 5 minutes.
Shocking, wasn't it? Shocking. And the week before against West Ham, they were just like, they were so drilled, but now them two teams, and especially Southampton, the only difference is that Southampton just had a plan and we was all over the place. We just looked a bit lost. I don't ever think the players weren't playing for Dino. We just lost our identity and our purpose, didn't we? So hopefully it all comes back to us.
Josh, you buzzing?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I call myself a bandwagon Rangers fan, in the sense that my mum and all her family are Scottish. They're the blue side of Glasgow. And I know a lot of, Rangers fans are interested at the moment in all these sort of Gerrard sort of YouTube, and they come in the comments. And what Justin said earlier, and you guys touched on about like individuals, there are prime case studies at Rangers right now who players have gone from, you could have a settled career in Scotland and be okay, but now they're elevating themselves to actually they're constantly being linked. And that's players like James Tavernier, the captain at right back. His numbers are astronomical, absolutely astronomical for a fullback, in the sense that Gerrard and the coaching team asked him to deliver more in the final third. If you're playing high fullbacks and attacking fullbacks, the returns have to be there. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So his goals and assists have been absolutely through the roof. And again, people go, he's a penalty merchant. Yeah, he takes penalties, but listen, that boy can cross a ball. Ryan Kent, Joe Aribo, 2 young players that Gerrard has taken on. Aribo, now versatile, can play centre mid, can play out wide. Ryan Kent, a Liverpool lad who made that big move at the time. A lot of people were like, well, should he have stayed in England? What's the point in going to Scotland? Again, I think Gerrard has transformed these players with the coaching team. And I know Michael Beale spent a lot of time with these attacking players from this podcast, and really sort of tried to give them a personality to set those high standards. So for me, take some of those players that he's done at Rangers and they can do that at Villa. And I think we're going to see some of our players we've seen good spells of them, but I think we're going to see players jump to that next level. I genuinely believe that from seeing seeing Gerrard do it in 2/3 seasons with that group of players, Rangers. I'm so excited of what that coaching team can do with some of our lads. I really am.
So what's your vibe then? If you had to pick a vibe, who do you feel like he's going to do that with Villa?
I've been banging the John McGinn drum for ages. I'm a massive John McGinn fan, because you watch him play for Scotland and he's just everything you want to see in a footballer. Just raw, plays off that shoulder, plays on the cuff. Interesting, I don't know if you guys seen today, Aston Villa Stato put out some Dean Smith stats of players under there. John McGinn, if you take away Joe, John McGinn is the highest player for assists under Dean Smith and in the Premier League for Aston Villa in Dean Smith's era. I don't think a lot of people would expect that. And that's a player who has been shackled in the holding mid role. That's been a player who hasn't been able to play how he wants to. And I tell you now, release those shackles, John McGinn's numbers are going to fly. Goals and assists. That's one player. And another one is, again, this season, he's had to balance Alfredo Morelos, who he's had there for 2-3 seasons as his number 9. And they brought in a striker called Fashion Sakala, who, again, they spent quite a lot of money on this lad. And again, he hasn't been afraid to drop either one of them. And we're talking about the Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings conundrum, who plays where. Gerrard won't have a problem wrestling with one of them, but I think it'll push them both again. So, but the big one for me, Luke, is John McGinn, free those shackles, and let's see those numbers fly. Yeah,
I'm with you. I think we want the Scotland John McGinn, don't we, really? That's the John McGinn I want to be watching. I do think Ramsey, I think he got man of the match for the under-21s, didn't he? And I think there's definitely a player there. We've saw glimpses this season, haven't we, of him being brilliant, gliding past players. And I think his game's going to come on leaps and bounds. So we may as well ask Justin and Ryan. Justin, what 1 player, 2 player do you think is going to look a bit different for Villa?
I think he's got to unlock 2 areas for me. I think that although there's been problems at the back, the goalkeeper picks himself. The back 4 is pretty solid. The 2 areas you've got to unpick is the midfield 3 and that front 3. The 2 big conundrums for us, and it's probably the 2 things that have cost us the most this season. He's not having. I know he's been hamstrung by injuries and he hasn't been able to pick his first 11s, but he's got to get them areas ticking. And I agree. John McGinn is the key man at the Villa. Everything that good happens at the Villa generally comes through John McGinn, doesn't it? So if we can get him a bit further forward, whether that means just playing 1 holding midfield and letting 2 forage forward, if you like, Ramsey and McGinn, having them 2. I'm not saying 2 10s, but just giving it a bit more license to go forward. And then and like Ryan says, that's how I read it, that he plays fullbacks, not wing backs, but he's sort of fullbacks that play in a natural 4, but they're almost wing backs because they just get forward so much. And then the front 3 do play very narrow, so I think that ties in a bit easier to be able to play an Ings and a Watkins together because under the Dean Smith 4-3-3, you've got Watkins playing in almost a Grealish role, which is hugging the touchline then cutting in, which doesn't 100% suit Watkins. But I think in a narrow 3, with, if you say play Ings in the 9 and 2 just off Ings, that suits Watkins as well. But he's got other players that can play there. Again, he's got to get the other player I think he's got to really get the best out of, which we haven't seen yet, is Leon Bailey. And from sort of the comments coming from his camp, which they're never backwards in coming forwards, are they? His camp from Jamaica. I think he's almost intimating that he's had a bit of a rough time of it since he's been here. It sounds like he's had COVID and he hasn't properly recovered, and they've played him when he hasn't been recovered. So you need to get him fit. And if Gerrard can unlock the potential of Leon Bailey and John McGinn, then we're not going to have a bad 11, are we?
No. Ryan?
Yeah, I actually think our player of the season so far has been Matty Cash. Now, I think he's going to benefit more from this system. If Gerrard does implement the same system he's got at Rangers with the attacking fullbacks, my only worry is if Targett's got the ability to do that, get up and down and up and down, up and down. We know he's technically a very, very good player. He can put a ball in, so hopefully Gerrard can get the best out of him. And like Justin was saying about that narrow front 3, it's pretty similar to what Klopp does at Liverpool, where you've got Mane, Firmino, Jota. Then they're not hugging the touchline, are they? They're right up with Salah. And it's very flexible as well, the way the Rangers play. So they all interlink and they all press together as a pack. And like you say, look, winning that ball back 8 to 9 seconds is phenomenal. So it's going to take a bit of work to get the players up to that sort of speed. It's not going to come overnight, but yeah, I'm very excited. And the same with John McGinn, Ramsey, the likes of Chukwuemeka as well. Gerrard if Gerrard spots a bit of potential in Chukwuemeka, then he's gonna turn out to be a good player. And what I like about Gerrard, he was all for, in this podcast that I watched, he was all for putting his arm around players, coaching them, guiding one-on-one, always chatting to them. He said some players just manage themselves, train themselves, but the younger lads constant feedback, constantly giving them. I've lost my train of thought, but yeah, just constantly bigging them up,
encouragement.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to look for. So yeah, all good, man.
So in other news, we have a new impending kit manufacturer in Castor. They currently are doing Wolves and Newcastle. For me, I've always looked at those kits and thought I quite like them, to be fair. They look pretty smart to me, and they look like they're half decent quality. None of my Kappa stuff has peeled or anything, so I've not had a problem with it. But those shirts to me look pretty good, really. Josh, what's your vibe? Do you like their shirts or not?
Yeah, it's funny because Rangers do it as well. So we're sort of copying, taking everything from Rangers at the moment. But yeah, I love it. If you look at the Rangers with the gold, they've got like the gold encrusted writing on that. Yeah, the black one is sensational, actually. So yeah, you may as well get everything new in. Why not when you're starting fresh? It's a new image, new club. Obviously, never change the badge, which some clubs sometimes do when they give that new fresh start. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the kit league as well. Yeah.
So on this screen, we have the man that probably owns virtually every single Villa shirt, Justin. What are your thoughts on it then?
I'm 3 away now from owning every kit back to early 80s. So yeah, got most of them now. I like them, to be fair, but I think the one good thing about having a make like this, which they're just trying to sort of stamp their sort of name on football, is that everybody's crying out for an Adidas or a Nike, which is obviously what we're wearing tonight. But they all tend to stick with like, I can't think of the name, like that they'll do a kit template, and then they just throw your colours on that template. And the money's there and it's easy for them. So I think it's just easy to bang loads of kits out. Like, especially the Adidas, that's the Adidas way, isn't it? Stick a template out, stick your colours on, you're done. Whereas Castor, because we're going to be one of their first Premier League, I think, is it Newcastle have got them and Wolves, only 2, I think. Hopefully we can, the designers can get a bit, interested with it. The home kit generally sticks roughly with what home kits do. But the second and third kits, hopefully, they can have a real interesting look at them and get some really good kits out for next year. I think the quality looks good. I haven't actually felt a kit. I can't bring myself to touch a Wolves top, so that'll never happen. But like Rangers kit, I do like the Rangers kits, to be fair. They look really nice. So yeah, I don't. We've had a meltdown this week. I mean, it's only like hearsay at the moment. It hasn't been confirmed. And already I've seen loads of meltdowns on Twitter saying, "Oh God, we got them. They're rubbish. They are." But kit's a kit, aren't they? Don't know what the kit looks like. I'll buy it, so it don't really matter.
The thing is, you're forgetting here, Justin, is the manager's gone now. So there's got to be another meltdown about something else.
It's the next one, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Meltdown. It's going to be the grass.
I don't think it matters, does it? Who the kit manufacturer? It don't matter who the manufacturer is, really, in my opinion. As long as it's got this badge on, that's all that matters.
As long as they play well in it as well.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you like it?
Yeah, suppose. I've got a friend who's a Wolves fan that said he weren't too keen on the training gear. Said the quality weren't that great, to be honest. But I think that's because they were quite new and it was early doors. But yeah, like you said, some of them Rangers kits, especially that black one's nice, isn't it? So hopefully we can get a nice looking kit for next season.
Apparently, isn't it like a 6 or 7 year deal mooted with like £5 million a year? That's what I've read. I've read 7-year deal, £5 million a year, which is a hell of an investment in a Villa. That is. Let's hope we don't get fed up of them quickly.
Mental. And I think we've probably got to mention it on this podcast as well, because obviously we're all, fans of him. But Dino, Norwich job. What's our vibe on that?
Yeah, no, it's weird because I thought, does he want time out? Does he want to get his head around the fact that it's happened? And sometimes the best thing to do is just jump back on the wagon again. sometimes you get dumped. May as well just get back on the wagon, get on the dating apps. And Dino's swiped left and done well, hasn't he? So, I think it's a perfect match, because if they do go down, he's the man you want to bring back up. And it'll be interesting to see if he comes sniffing for some of our lads in January, actually. I've got a feeling he might. And one player in particular, I'm going to throw that out there, is Anwar El Ghazi. I think he might come after Ghazi in January. That's
a right little shout, Ryan.
I was thinking the main man, Keenan Davis. spearhead the revival. But I'm super happy for Dino. I've seen a lot of people say in the media and on Twitter and that he'll struggle to get another Premier League job. But then you see like journeymen like Steve Bruce and Sam Allardyce constantly getting jobs. And I'm thinking, Dino, surely he's got a bit of stock of what he achieved, especially last season, and keeping us up, getting us to a cup final. So it's no surprise that once he had an interview at Norwich that they knew he was the man to take him forward. And I hope it works out for him. I really do. And like, he's got nothing to lose, has he? They are going down. They've got 5 points out of 10 games. I don't think anybody at that stage with that amount of points has ever stayed up. So he'd be setting a new record. But he knows how to do a great escape, doesn't he? And I think our great escape doesn't get as much credit as what it should, really, because we were, with 4 games to go, we were down and out. And he kept us up. So good luck to him, man.
Justin?
Yeah, I'm just for him. We've got nothing but good things to say about Dean Smith. As long as he don't beat us, I'll absolutely have the moon for him. I know he wanted Rashika at the Villa, which is ridiculous, isn't it, to go and get the Norwich job just so he can manage him. But yeah, no, I think it's a good fit. I think he's a long-term manager for them. I think they've shown that they stick with manager. They're stuck with Fark up and down, up and down, up and down. So I think that they're not going to jettison him should they get relegated, because that's just not the way they do business. I think they know what they are. That they try and come up and not spend much money and see if they can stay up. And generally they get relegated. But they always keep a nucleus of players for the managers to work with. And I think that would suit Smith really well. I think he will come knocking. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes knocking for a few of our young kids on loan in January. I think that could be a shout. And next season, if they go down, I think he'll 100% come knocking for 2 or 3 of our younger lads to develop them, because I think championship football for a few of them would be ideal now. The likes of the younger lads like Aaron Ramsey, possibly, maybe even Archer up front. I think they could really thrive next season in the championship. A few of them players. So he could do a survivor next year as well.
So what he's done, he's gone to manage our feeder club. Is that what we're saying?
Oh yeah,
but the feeder club.
We all know that we've got one of the best academies in football now, and he's worked at that academy for 3 years. He's basically developed all them players for 3 years. So if they do get relegated, which I fully expect them to do, he'd be daft not to go and tap into that, wouldn't he? And Villa would be daft not to allow players who he's already coached to go and develop under the manager that's developed them as well. So it could be a real win-win situation.
Good stuff. So we'll leave it there. Just a bit of a mini episode from us to fill the international break. We'll be back in the week with a preview to the Brighton game, where I think we're going to be hearing from Gerrard as well this week. So it'll be interesting to pick up on a few points, what he mentions, and it's what his thoughts about properly being the Villa manager, because I don't really think you get much from a little statement, do you? So that'll be interesting and nice to listen to. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks, Josh, for coming on. Don't forget to check out his channel as well. I'll put the link in the description as well. So he's doing some brilliant stuff as well. And check out the episode that he did with Justin as well. Proper enjoyable, that one was. It was really good. So thanks, everyone.
Luke, I know you just mentioned it at the start as well, that the women smashed Small Heath at their patch. But check the website in the morning. We've got some content coming out. We've got the fan report, and we got the player ratings, both from Adam and Georgia, that was there at the game today. So, check the website for that.
I'll have one final shout out quickly. Adam Wright on Twitter has made me aware of a documentary on Amazon called Make a Stream. It's a Gerrard documentary about the Rangers story, so I'm going to go and watch that now. So that could be an interesting one to watch.
Good stuff. Right. Anyone else? Innovate.
Up the Villa.